Think you know every prog rock legend worth their weight in mellotrons? Then think again. Beyond the Goliaths of Yes, Genesis and Floyd, there's a whole world of vocal virtuosos who've led their bands through a labyrinthine time signatures and lyrical odysseys. And most of them probably are not on your radar. You might think you've heard it all, but I'm willing to bet this selection of frontmen and women may somehow have slipped past your prog door. Are you ready to meet some of the unsung heroes of prog? Let's be honest, if you're still rocking out to prog at 50, you've probably had a fair number of awkward dinner parties trying to explain the brilliance of, say, Close to the Edge, while your audience's eyes glaze over. It is a genre that's notorious for indulgent solos, concept albums about ancient astronaut theories, and lyrics that were so surreal even the band members couldn't tell you what they meant. We all know Peter Gabriel, John Anderson, Ian Anderson and the like, but what about those unsung heroes, pun intended, of progressive rock? Let's dive into some vocalists you might not know, but definitely you should. Now I'm starting with Derek Shulman from Gentle Giant. Now here's a man with a voice so versatile it feels like he could sing through 5 genres before breakfast. Shulman's vocals in Gentle Giant wove through their labyrinthine compositions, sometimes soft and tender, other times a jagged brassy snarl. His command of odd time signatures and layered harmonies was impeccable. One of their highlights is the advent of Panurge from the album Octopus from 1972. Now here, Shulman effortlessly shifts between folky narration and full-blown vocal fireworks. It's just a perfect introduction to a band that makes polyrhythms sound almost I said, approachable. Now, if you've ever wondered what it sounds like to be sung to by an existential crisis, then let me introduce you to Peter Hammill. Now, Hammill didn't just front Van der Graaf Generator. He was the trembling, fragile heart of the band's avant-garde explorations. With a voice that ranged from a whisper to a tortured scream, Hamill's emotional intensity was unmatched. Listen to the track Mannerg from Poor Hearts, released in 1971. It's a song that starts as tender ballad and morphs into a frenzied, chaotic prog assault. And if that doesn't make you feel a little unstable in the best way, mind you, then nothing will. John Lees is a name you might not be familiar with. He was the guitarist and vocalist for Barclay James Harvest, and he brought a warm but plaintive vocal style that set his band apart from some of their more flamboyant peers. His voice was subtle yet evocative, it perfectly complementing the band's symphonic rock sound. Barclay James Harvest often leaned into lush orchestral arrangements, but Lee's grounded, heartfelt delivery kept the music human. A perfect example of this is in the track Mockingbird from 1971. Lee's vocals glide over the majestic orchestration, weaving a narrative that's both poignant and epic. He had an understated approach that may not scream prog icon, but it's precisely that gentleness that made him so compelling in a genre that often veers towards the excessive. For the next 2 singers on my list, you literally could not get 2 more polar opposites. Firstly, there is Roger Chapman, who had a voice that was, to put it mildly, unique. Some likened it to a goat being electrocuted. Others might call it soulful vibrato, but whatever it was, it worked. Now, Family were a band that merged blues, jazz and prog with Chapman's rasping wails, soaring above it all. Check out The Weaver's Answer, for example, from the album Family Entertainment, released in 1969. And here, Chapman's voice is all raw energy, and the song itself is a glorious mashup of styles that showcases Family's prog credentials. is what you'd imagine Tom Waits would sound like if he spent a year in Canterbury. Annie Haslam, on the other hand, was the most exquisite breath of fresh air in a genre dominated by testosterone-fueled concept albums about cosmic voyages. Her crystalline 5-octave range was a revelation, soaring over Renaissance's orchestral prog landscapes like some sort of mythical goddess. For example, on the track Song of Scheherazade, from Scheherazade and Other Stories, her voice is pure ethereal and otherworldly, bringing a story about a legendary storyteller to life with grace and power. Now, if you've ever felt like prog needed more female representation, then Haslam is your knight in shining operatic armour. Two of the definitely lesser-known examples I came across whilst researching for this video are my next two choices. Now, the band Pavlov's Dog may sound like a forgotten Monty Python sketch to many, but the band's music was serious, and so was David Surkamp's distinctive, vibrato-heavy voice. Now, he was often unfairly compared to Geddy Lee, but Surkamp brought a raw theatricality to the music of the band, stretching his pipes to places that most singers wouldn't dare to go. What was their best example? Or perhaps Julia from Pampered Menile from 1975, a soaring melodramatic ode that feels like it's being sung from the edge of a cliff in some baroque fantasy world. Surkamp's voice may divide opinion, but love it or hate it, you can't ignore it. I strongly recommend that you try it out. Now, the band Ange are a French prog rock band that, if we are honest, most prog fans may have missed out on. But Christian Descamps deserves to be on this list for his theatrical, almost operatic style. Now, his voice brings a sense of storytelling that parts Jacques Brel, part Genesis-era Peter Gabriel. Take a listen to Captain Coeur de Mier from Gruyère Alpin, released in 1978. Now, this is a 10-minute epic where Descamps narrates a twisted tale with passion and flair. It's a perfect introduction to the French school of prog, full of drama, excesses, and a pinch of absurdity. My last selection is a personal favourite for me. Sonia Christina, the sultry, sometimes whimsical voice behind Curved Air, was a pioneer in her own right. Again, standing out in this male-dominated prog scene. Her vocals were as flexible as Curved Air's eclectic sound, which blended classical folk and experimental rock. On Backstreet Love, for example, from 71's second album, she dances between really seductive and otherworldly, all while managing to hold her own against Darrell Way's frantic violin. It is that sultry, slinky performance that still holds up as one of the great vocal moments in prog history. Check it out if you haven't heard it. Now, I was going to end it there, but I've got one final entry to throw in the mix, and that is Dagmar Krause, who is about as far from the typical prog vocalist as you can get. And that's precisely what really makes her such an essential inclusion in this list. As the voice of the avant-garde bands Slap Happy and later on Henry Cow, her unconventional, almost theatrical style brought with it a wild unpredictability to the music. On War, from the album Desperate Straits that came out in 75, a collaboration between Slap Happy and Henry Cow, Krause's voice is both sharp, unearthly, and cutting through the jagged experimental instrumentation like a blade. Her ability to oscillate between gentle crooning and intense avant-garde vocal acrobatics makes her a standout in the often male-dominated prog scene that we've discussed. This may be a step too far for some of you, but I leave the name there for you to try, should you wish. Let me know how you go on if you do. So that then is a mixture of some of the most progressive of progressive lead singers. And whilst lesser known to some than many of their illustrious peers, what they do is shine a light on that often near-forgotten craft of the progressive rock lead singer. Now, I hope you've enjoyed the video. Like, share and subscribe if you have, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.